Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Mic check. Good? Everybody else good?
Put him on.
Okay. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. John Paul Barajas, can you hear me? Mic check.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sir. Okay, thank you all so much for joining us this evening. It's been a long but productive day. You all already met Mr. Perales out in the hallway. So look, we'll just cut to the chase. Mr. Perales is here for capital murder in the death of Marianne Marble. He's facing a litany of charges, though. One charge of capital murder, one aggravated assault, mass shooting. That's a relatively new charge that exists in the state. One aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and then 2 counts of injury to a child by serious bodily injury. As I mentioned, he's a 20-year-old Hispanic male residing in San Antonio, Texas, and he is now identified as one of the main defendants in the capital murder case involving the death of 4-year-old Marianne Marble. As you all know, May 8th of 2024, a shooting occurred in 6708 Windsor Hollow. During that shooting incident, 5 victims were shot, 2 adults, 3 children. So Marianne died in the shooting almost instantly. Her 2 siblings were also shot and wounded in that shooting, along with both of her parents were also wounded. Unfortunately, Marianne succumbed to her injuries there on the scene. During the aftermath of that shooting, we knew we had our work cut out for us. We were able to capture some surveillance footage that we'll share with some stills from you just to refresh everybody's memory. Although we're sure that this hasn't strayed too far from anybody's memory as the events of that evening stuck with all of us, I'm sure. This is where he was actually arrested today, 10,600 block of Green Arbor, in southeast Bexar County. But we can always come back to that. This is a video of him that we'll share with the news desk of him surrendering himself. after the SWAT team surrounded the residence and called him out, placed him under arrest there. And again, we'll share this video with you all if you all want to go ahead and continue on. So as you know, the 6700 block of Windsor Hollow was where the original shooting took place. In the aftermath of that shooting, we were able to share photos and video from the shooting incident. What we knew is that a 2018 Infiniti Q50, which we now believe is a car that we have in our custody still, was a stolen car at the time of the shooting. Two suspects, at least two suspects, possibly 3 or 4 were in that car. 2 of the suspects, the shooters, exited the vehicle, walked up to the residence and began shooting into the residence with what we now know to be short-barreled rifles, brand name Draco. It's an AK-47 type knockoff type weapon. It fires a deadly round that is ultimately what penetrated the home. Several dozen rounds were fired into the home, and that's of course what killed little Marianne. We were able to put out pretty good descriptions of the gun. Again, that's a stock photo of the gun that we believed was used. Over the course of the past several months, we took a task force approach to this case. Our elements from our organized crime group, our intelligence group, our homicide unit, aggravated assaults unit, child safe, pretty much the whole spectrum of the agency worked together in concert. We met at least once a week and shared evidence, shared resources, and were able to follow up on various leads. During the course of the investigation, we were able to develop through Crime Stoppers tips some information identifying Isaiah Perales as one of our main suspects, but also implicating others perhaps to a lesser role to this point. We did put out the names of those folks that we do consider them to be persons of interest. Although he's the only one we can call a suspect at this point, there are other persons of interest in this case, and I will share those names with you here shortly. But again, as a result of those Crime Stoppers tips coming in, we were able to continue to develop forensic information, forensic evidence, and follow up on leads. During the course of that investigation also, we were able to, through digital evidence, retrace Isaiah Perales' steps in the aftermath of, prior to and in the aftermath of the shooting. We did see where some research was conducted, for example, on his cell phone of the Windsor Hollow address prior to them going to there. We were able to see where his phone was in very close proximity to that shooting. We believe that it was actually turned off at the time of the shooting. Immediately after the shooting, we see where the phone comes back on, and we're able to track movements throughout the county to various spots. At a certain point, we were able to track that phone out to Calaveras Lake, where, as you know, a couple days ago, we conducted a dive with the Harris County Sheriff's Office dive team. Helping out was our BCSO dive team. Everybody worked together, and what we were looking for was, quite frankly, a murder weapon. That day, we were fortunate enough to locate, one of the divers located in probably about 5 feet of water, about 50 feet off a bridge, this weapon, what we now know is also a Draco, very similar to the ones used in the shooting. That weapon was submitted to the Bexar County Crime Lab. This morning it was test fired, and we were able to definitively say that the shell casings fired from the test fire matched definitively to the shell casings recovered at the scene of the shooting where little Marianne was shot. And so earlier today, we were able to apply for and were granted several arrest warrants for Isaiah Perales. Again, he was placed under arrest at that location in southeast Bexar County. Look, I can't say this definitively enough. There will be other arrests in this case. There are other persons of interest in this case. Let me kind of go over who those persons of interest are, and I will once again remind the community on what we need from them. So as you may recall, week before last, we actually executed a series of warrants, pre-dawn warrants that we executed at 3 different locations in Bexar County. 101 Alexander Hamilton, 4447 Wrangler Run, which is where Isaiah Perales was actually arrested on that day, and he was arrested for auto theft related charges. Also, in that early morning operation, we also executed a warrant at 11106 Victory Cavern, where Brian Salazar was actually arrested for tampering with evidence, deadly conduct. Now, Isaiah's auto theft charge was unrelated to the death of Marianne Marble on that day. The tampering with evidence charge, as you may recall, for Brian Salazar was because we believed that at one point when he was stopped by deputies, he deleted evidence from his phone. Forensically getting into that phone later, we were able to see that what he had deleted was in fact evidence that would have tied him directly to Windsor Hollow. We were able to recover the evidence anyway, but that's what the charge that he's currently facing. Now these folks, Brian has actually bonded out of the Bexar County Jail. He remains under house arrest at another location. But again, while we are considering him to be a person of interest in this case, at this point, it's highly likely he's going to cross the line over into suspect at some point. So we're asking anybody with any information, again, on any of these suspects, to please give us a call. 210-335-6000. They can also email us at bcsotips@bear.org. So also on that day of the pre-dawn operation, where these houses were hit simultaneously by our SWAT team and other special operations units in the agency, 101 Alexander Hamilton, on that day we were also looking for Ashton Garcia. Ashton was at large for a couple of days. He turned himself in later that weekend to us. So he has been accounted for at this point. He's also considered to be a person of interest in the shooting. Evidence that we found at his home at 101 Alexander Hamilton, we believe ties him a little bit more closely to the shooting itself that originally brought us here. And so again, we're asking for anybody with information on Brian Salazar, Ashton Garcia, or any other persons that we're listing as persons of interest in this case, to please give us a call, 210-335-6000 or bcsotips@bear.org. Esta tarde nosotros arrestamos a este sospechoso, Isaiah David Perales, 20 años de edad. Él fue arrestado en el sureste del condado sin incidente. Él ya estaba bajo arresto en la casa por medio de las condiciones libre condicional que él ya se había enfrentado con cargos en conexión con este caso. Nosotros sabemos que el día 8 de mayo de este año hubo un incidente en una casa en Windsor Hollow donde una niña falleció. 5 personas fueron baleadas y esta niña, Marianne Marble, falleció a causa de una herida a su cabecita. Y nosotros en ese día sabíamos que había cuando menos 2 sospechosos, posiblemente 3 o 4 en un carro marca Infinity robado. Ese carro fue robado. Los 2 sospechosos se salieron del carro a pie, se le acercaron a la casa y empezaron a tirar hacia la casa. Sí balearon a 5 víctimas, 2 adultos y 3 niños. La niña Marianne fue la única que falleció a causa de su herida. Ya de allí empezamos a investigar. Nos llegó información de Isaiah Perales y otros sospechosos, otras personas de interés en este caso. Y ya de allí seguimos investigando, siguiendo información, trabajando juntos, varias unidades de nuestra agencia, trabajando juntos para poder averiguar quién fueron las personas responsables por matar a esta niña. Ya con esa información, hace unas cuantas semanas nosotros ejecutamos varias órdenes de arresto y órdenes de cateo en varias casas en el condado. En ese día arrestamos a Perales por causas de robo de un carro. También arrestamos a otro sospechoso, Brian Salazar, por destruir evidencia en conexión con el incidente de la niña y otros cargos. Y también en ese día buscábamos a Ashton Garcia por robo de un carro también. En ese día no se encontró, pero ya después de 2 días él se rindió, se entregó y ya lo arrestamos. Todos menos Isaiah, todos estaban en libres condicionales, pero ahora arrestamos a Isaiah otra vez por varios cargos. Estos son los cargos de él, pero más importante que todos es el homicidio de la niña. Pero yo puedo decir definitivamente que va a haber otros arrestos en este caso. Ya sabemos que hay otras personas de interés en este caso y ya sabemos que nosotros vamos a hacer todo lo posible hasta que podemos arrestar a todos los responsables por matar a esta niña. Any questions?
Brian Salazar is a suspect, and you said he was arrested for tampering with evidence during the auto arrest of that ring bus.
Mhm.
But he was erasing evidence that connected him not to the ring, but to the Windsor Hollow shooting.
Correct. The only thing that we have, well, the only thing that we've charged to this point, I should say, is that at one point when we were conducting surveillance on these folks, we went to make a traffic stop on Brian. When we latched onto him, we saw that his cell phone had been wiped. When we were able to get that phone and by virtue of a search warrant get into that phone, we saw that it had been wiped, but we were able to forensically recover what it was that he had wiped, and what it was information tying him to Windsor Hollow on the day of the shooting. And so again, we were able to get that evidence back anyway, but the fact that he just tried to destroy it anyway was what led to the charge of tampering with evidence. Again, I fully believe that he is involved in this to some extent. While I can't call him a suspect in the shooting itself just yet, I fully expect that there's going to be other arrests, and I fully expect that he will face other charges in the future. I will also remind the community at this point that typically on a Crime Stoppers case, there's up to a $5,000 reward. With regard to this case, there's actually up to a $10,000 reward on this case. And so again, we're asking anybody with information that wants to make an extra $10,000 and has information to yield on this case, please give us a call, 210-335-6000.
¿Decir en español eso?
Sí, la mayoría del tiempo cuando nosotros tenemos casos con Crime Stoppers, hay hasta $5,000 por información de recompensa. En este caso hay $10,000 de recompensa por la muerte de esta niña. Entonces les pedimos a todo el público que si tienen información tocante a este caso y quieren esos $10,000, que por favor nos hablen 210-335-6000 o bcsotips@bear.org.
Salazar, las dos personas de interés de la semana pasada estaban bajo fianza, ¿verdad? Una de ellas resultó ser Isaías.
¿Mande?
Uno de ellas es Isaías.
Isaías lo arrestamos en ese día, él salió en esos cargos, en ese día nomás lo teníamos por robo de un carro, se salió y luego ya lo arrestamos otra vez por este cargo,
O sea,
por el homicidio.
De persona de interés pasó a ser sospechoso hoy.
Y sí, pasó de persona de interés hasta sospechoso este día.
Ajá.
Yo sé que otros van a cruzar esa línea de personas de interés también a sospechosos. Ahora, ellos pueden cooperar con nosotros y hay chance que vayan a enfrentarse con cargos más menores, pero por eso está en ellos cooperar con nosotros.
Y todo era por lo de los carros, me acuerdo, ¿no? Era por lo del operativo de los automóviles robados.
Ellos es lo que estaban haciendo. Ellos se encargaban de robar carros, pero hacían otras cosas. Y en este caso, nosotros pensamos que ellos intentaron balacear a un familiar, el padre de la niña, pero desafortunadamente balacearon toda la casa y balearon a varias personas, 5 personas.
Hace 2 días mencionabas que el papá al parecer no quiere ayudar con la investigación.
Todavía no ha cooperado el padre de esa niña, desafortunadamente. Le mataron a la niña enfrente de él y no está cooperando para nada.
¿Qué les hace pensar eso?
Yo pienso que, pues, en mi opinión, que él tiene algo que no nos quiere decir. O sea, algo que él está involucrado, no sé. Pero por alguna razón a él no le interesa la justicia para su niña de él.
Same in English about
Sure.
the Marianne's father.
Sure, yeah. Well, we haven't received any cooperation from him. My opinion is that he's got something to hide. There's a reason he doesn't want to come talk to us. If that were any other dad that I know of, they killed your little girl right in front of you, and you got nothing to say about that to help bring the people to justice that did it, yeah, why? Come talk to us. If you got nothing to hide, come talk to us. We'd love to hear from you. But unfortunately, to this point, he really hasn't cooperated.
So do you know a motive now?
No, the motive is still is not something that I'm willing to share. Put it that way. The motive is not necessarily something I'm able to share at this point. We believe that there was an ongoing feud. We believe that there's other crimes involved that possibly retribution one for the other. We believe that that's the motive at this point. But to put it out publicly there'd be a bit of speculation on my part. I'm not ready to do that just yet.
Speculation says that this was a retaliation attempt for a sibling of either Perales or Salazar.
Well, that's one of the theories. That is absolutely one of the theories. But Without direct evidence taking me there at this point, I couldn't say definitively. But again, we believe that there's a bit of retaliation going on between at least a couple of groups of people. And unfortunately, the one that paid for that is somebody that was totally innocent of anything, Marianne Marble.
¿Puedes decir en español, Jesús?
Sí, nosotros pensamos que hay cuando menos dos grupos de personas que se andan haciendo cosas uno al otro. Y desafortunadamente la que vino saliendo como víctima fue la niña que no tenía culpa para nada. No estaba involucrada en nada, obviamente.
For the viewers, if Salazar, Brian Salazar, erased evidence in the Windsor Hollow shooting, why is he still not considered a suspect in the Windsor Hollow shooting?
Well, because somebody has evidence of something on their phone and they're deleting it, that's still not quite enough to get us there to say that they were a trigger man. But just the way a couple days ago we weren't able to say that about Isaiah, and now we are, I fully suspect that the tide's going to continue to change on this case. And again, I'm telling you right now, there's going to be other people going to jail. They can determine what level of charge they face. Do they want to face capital murder like this guy and possibly the death penalty? Or would they choose to come in and cooperate with us and possibly save themselves that fate? We'll see.
Since Isaiah's arrest, has he cooperated at all, said anything?
No remorse whatsoever. None. No cooperation, no remorse whatsoever.
You were pretty confident at the lake that there would be an arrest coming soon. Now, the first big domino falls. Just your take on how things are going 5 months since the shooting.
Well, interesting that you should use that analogy, because that's exactly what we're calling this, is the first big domino. And we're expecting others to fall, hopefully in rapid succession, right? But certainly in succession, we'll be seeing other dominoes fall. Again, those other dominoes can decide to come in on their own volition. If they want to bring an attorney and come talk to us, that'd be fine. But if we have to come look for you with a SWAT team, the time to cut a deal and talk about it is over with. We'll just bring you out of the house, drag you out of the house and throw you into the jail for capital murder.
Salazar, yo me acuerdo que el día que se doblegó para que fueran $10,000, yo lo sentí muy preocupado ese día, porque no tenía ninguna evidencia de quién era, y ahora sale a la luz.
Porque yo tengo fe en mis oficiales. Ya sé las habilidades que ellos tienen, sé las herramientas que les hemos conseguido en el entrenamiento, pero también la dedicación que ellos tienen a su trabajo. Entonces yo ya tengo fe que ellos, como llegaron a este punto con este sospechoso, van a llegar a este punto con los otros, y ojalá más pronto que todo.
What is your message for Marion's family? I know they're actually watching right now,
Sure.
anticipating this moment.
Look, my message to them is that justice for that little girl is just something that none of us have slept the same since it happened. And I know this is a horrible situation for them. They lost a little girl out of this. But it's important. Just like they want to see those responsible facing prison time, we want to see the same. And we're certainly willing to go to the ends of the earth for it. I mean, look at all the effort we've put forth in just putting this one guy behind bars. I'm not going to stop until everybody is behind bars and possibly in prison for the rest of their lives.
Question.
Yes, sir.
So on the Crime Stoppers thing,
Sure.
Did that help at all with the progress that has been made to this point?
Sure. I mean, very early on, some Crime Stoppers information that came in is what helped us out with regard. Now, it was short of, hey, I saw this guy pull the gun and pull the trigger, and it was certainly short of that. Otherwise, we'd been making this arrest a long time ago. But it certainly did help. But again, we're hoping that the combination of the $10,000, can induce somebody to give the information. The fact that time has passed since then. Maybe there's a girlfriend at that time that is now an ex-girlfriend that wouldn't mind coming forth and giving some information. Whatever it may be, we just want somebody to come forward and give us just enough information. Now, somebody may say, well, but the information that I have is just a little bit, well, it may be just the missing puzzle piece that we need to break this case wide open. So we would certainly urge people, hey, bring forth whatever information you have. Let us be the judge of whether it's good or not.
Were there any issues with Peralez's arrest today when SWAT showed up at his?
Say it again.
Was there any issues with Peralez today when y'all arrested him?
Not at all. Not at all. He gave up pretty easily. I mean, certainly doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that he got. I mean, he looked out his front window and he saw that tactical vehicle with all these intense-looking gentlemen in camouflage. Looked out his back window and saw more of them. And I'm sure it didn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that he got, and it was time to give himself up.
Con las dos cajas fuertes que se encontraron.
No pensamos que esa es evidencia en este caso, solamente que las encontramos. Okay, anything else, guys? All right, thank y'all so much. Appreciate it.
Have a good evening.
You too. Video.